Hi everyone, this time we are going to seam a cowl, like an infinity cowl, without any seam. In this case I knitted a few rows with another color, continued with the color, the main color I wanted the cowl to These stitches I didn't cast off. I put the stitches on a circular needle. And why a circular needle? Because most of the times I don't know which way I'm going to use to start the seaming. So you can either pull it this way, or you say, okay, I want to use the other side, and I'm pulling the stitches this way. I'm having a circular needle, European size 3, and not the one that is used for the yarn. Then I am able to put the stitches back on the loom if I want to. So I have space enough to put the stitches back. Okay, then it will fall off the needle, come off the needle. And when you are going to do this, you can also use a circular needle for needle size 6, 7 or even 8. So it will stay much better on the needle. But that is something you have to find out while you're doing these kind of things. What do you need next to the circular needle and some pieces of scrap yarn? I always advise a needle with a blunt point so that you are not having the needle into the yarn, because when you knit stitches you also see that they are not in the other stitches yarn, so it is stretchy and loopy enough. Okay, a needle with a blunt point and scissors, of course. And now we are going to get this white part off the cowl. Let's call it a cowl, that's easier. I've connected it here and I'm going to untie the knot as gentle as possible. I'm going to find the one that is connected with that white part. I'm going to loosen or frock it, and if it is done the right way, the stitches of the E-wrap will be on a piece of scrap yarn. So just look at it, pull it a bit, you see something happening. Okay, just pull till you have had all the stitches. Okay, this is where the piece of scrap yarn is, as you can see. And now we have a part of the stitch on the piece of scrap yarn, and this is the other part of the stitch, the upper part of the stitch and the below part of the stitch. And now we are going to connect it. This is the I always end up with a very long tail, so I can use that for the seaming. Yarn on the needle. Okay, and then we are going to take a closer look. Most of the times the circular needle is curling that way. That's in the way. Okay, this is the garter stitch, and here is where you see the other garter stitches. So we are going to connect this one with the first one over here. So we just are going to connect those two. Okay, and this is a twisted stitch, so we have to let it stay twisted just by take a closer look, and if it's still twisted and the direction that it is twisted. So you're going to look at it, and here you see the longer part of the E-wrap over here, and here you see him over there. So the longer part should be over here, so we are going to connect the E-wrap by pulling the first part of the stitch on the needle. Okay, and then we are going to have a connection between the other two, and you going back into the last one where you already put your yarn out, and you are going to go to the other stitch. You just pull, you're going into the same space as you did before, and you are going to the second stitch. Okay, here's where you came out, and you go into the second one. Just take a closer look, and we want to have a seamless cowl, so now we are just making another row ourselves, but then with a sewing needle. Just take a closer look here. This is the edge, and this is the first one, and that's the one you are going to connect. So this was the last stitch we did, because you can see that if you pull a bit, you can see this is where it came out. So this is the first you go into, and then you take a second stitch of the loop, and this is a kitchen stitch, of course. And as you can see, the stitch is in that way connected that it almost looks that as we knitted it that way. And that's the beauty of knowing how to seam. This is not the most easiest thing to do. There are other easier ways, but when you get the hang of it, I'm certain you will use it a lot of times. Just practice by doing a lot of swatches before trying it out on a project, so you are certain that you are able to do it. Okay, this is where we came out. You can see that because this is the working yarn. Now I will work a little faster so I can show you the edge. Here I forgot to take in yarn number 3, but it doesn't matter, we can always weave that in later if it is necessary. And I put my stitches on a piece of scrap yarn just because I don't want to lose my stitches, so it will lather. And this is how we are going to connect it without a seam, because then wrong side and right side will look the same. Just take a good look. And because of the needle with the blunt point, and also take a look at your tension. Don't pull too tight and don't make it too loose. Just look at it as if you are doing the knit stitch. Go back into the old one. Just pull at it and just take a closer look. Is this stitch as big as that one? We're almost done. I only have one stitch left on the loom. This is the... At this point you see there is no more yarn on the scrap piece of scrap yarn. So you just take it over here and you pull at the last part of that garter stitch over there. Okay, this is the last stitch over here. I've connected them with a Kitchener. And in this case I created a kind of knit stitch like the true knit. So you see, when you take a closer look, this is not a twisted one. There's also a possibility of making a twisted one, and then you, when you do your needle, you come from this side. But as you can see, the only one who knows is you, and this is a beautiful way. It gives the same stretch as the E-wrap. I'm putting my piece of scrap yarn out of it. Okay, just take a closer look. Which one is the scrap yarn? And one is over here. Okay, as you can see, I sewed into my piece of scrap yarn. You just cut it off over here, and then you are going to take it out. This is a piece of the weaving ends. This is the one we used for the Kitchener. Just take a look. Is it as stretchy as the rest of the knit work? You just take another piece of the knit stitch on the other side. It's just like crossing roads. You're going from the left to the right side. And we are just like copying the stitch. Okay, now we put it inside out. Most of the times we want our weaving ends on the wrong side of the work. Now there are few ways of doing that, and if you are used to a certain kind of way, you can do that, of course. Don't cut them off too short. And as you can see, here was the one I did not knit the right way. That is happening when you use more strands. And in this case I think, okay, I will use this piece of the weaving ends to cover it. As you can see, don't cut off too short, otherwise you get, when you are weaving in ends, it's not that easy to do. I always say finger length, and then most of the time it's long enough. So you make a knot, and then we are going to wrap this a little bit around, and then it might disappear. You pull a bit at it, now cut it off, and as you can see, there is no seam at all. So you really did make an infinity cowl. And yeah, this is the only thing you can see it. This is the garter, and when you are using a Kitchener, you can also make a garter stitch over here, but that's when you are more a professional. And I just wanted to show you how it's done with the Kitchener, so you can make an infinity cowl. So this is the most difficult way to do it, but it is the most beautiful way. Hi everyone. The first steps in making a cowl that really fits. In this case we are going to make a infinity cowl, so we join the cast on part and cast off part with a Kitchener, and we are doing it in a way that you can't see where you have joined the cowl. Okay, I already made the contrasting color part. Take the amount of stitches needed, put it on your pegs and knit a few rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 6 rows. Okay, you cut your yarn off. You take the color you want to knit your cowl with, and you are going to continue knitting with that and in the stitch you want your cowl to have. In my case it was garter stitch, and I'm always doing the purl from the right side, so I certainly know when to do the purl. Okay, you just put it on and continue knitting. 2 stitches purl, and then I'm going to E-wrap until the last 2 stitches. When you don't want to forget it, you can also put some markers on it, or you mark your peg so you know at this point I have to do another stitch. So I'm finishing it with 2 purls just to get a good selvage. And then the most important, you're going to put a lifeline on it. Take a piece of scrap yarn that's big enough, long enough, put it on your needle, and the only thing you have to do is this. You put it through your stitches. Okay, let's have a look. And because we don't want to knit the last lifeline, we are going to put it at the back side of the loom. So we're doing just this. You pull it at the back side of the peg. So in this case, or in this way, you don't knit your lifeline with the stitch. This is the last one. Okay, just pull a bit at your yarn, and then you will continue knitting the next row. In my case it was garter stitch for the edges, so from the left I'm doing the knit stitch, or in this case the E-wrap is my knit stitch, and I'm going to continue the knitting of the cowl. Just take a look. The piece of scrap yarn had to be on the other side of the loom. Maybe you pull a bit at it. So okay, the last 2 stitches are knit stitches because I'm knitting from the left. Just be gentle over here, otherwise you get a big loop. Just pull a bit at it. You take the long tail from the beginning, and you only make a knot into it. and then you can continue doing your cowl as you want to have it. So in my case I'm knitting from the right, so I'm starting with a purl again, just 2 stitches, and I'm knitting E-wrap in the middle. Okay, these were the 2 last one. As I already told you, put a marker over here. Doesn't matter what kind of marker. You can also put a piece of scrap yarn over here, just to have a reminder that you are doing an edge over here, so your cowl won't curl. There's another video which demonstrates the selvages, so you can look over there too. And then you continue knitting until you're finished, and then you are going to take this part off the project, and you are going to put the cast on part with the cast off part.